Hi guys, today I'm back with another video from that room I've been remodeling in my home, and I want to talk about a few things that DIYers need to know before they install these extra large format tiles that are starting to be available in the stores lately. If you're new to tiling or haven't installed these extra large format tiles before, I want to warn you about a few things that I learned when I bought and installed this tile. Typically, I'm tiling something about once a year. I've probably done about 15 different tiling projects over the years. This is the first time I've used these extra large tiles, and when I bought them, I wasn't really thinking about what I was getting myself into or how different it was going to be. In fact, when I bought them, I was really just thinking that they might be easier to install because I'd be able to lay less tile. This whole room only took 38 tiles to cover, and I thought that would make the job easier, but somehow actually it probably doubled the amount of time that I spent installing the tile. I think this tile takes longer to install specifically because of the size. I am 5 foot 8 inches tall. This tile is 5 feet wide, so that was quite a stretch for my arms. I'll show you in a minute how awkward it is to try to flip that tile over and line it up on the floor before you install it. But that extra length and the weight associated with trying to line that up when you're installing this tile is one of the reasons why it took longer to install this tile and made the job more complicated, especially for me since I always work alone when I'm installing tile. If you can install with a partner, if you can do this as a two-person job, it would be a lot easier to line those tiles up when you're installing them on the floor. If you are going to hire this out to a contractor, these extra long tiles are usually charged at a higher rate for the labor because the contractor is generally going to use another person to help him install and line up these tiles. For these really long wide ones, or even those 3 feet wide by 3 feet wide tiles that you'll see in the stores sometimes, or even bigger, those require two people to line them up properly and get them set. Another thing to think about when you're going to buy these extra large format tiles is how you're going to get them home. When I went to buy these tiles, I wasn't thinking about it, and I took my mid-size SUV with me. So I bought 40 of these tiles, and my car couldn't really, I didn't buy the thin set that day because my car really couldn't handle even these tiles. I had just barely enough room to get those tiles in and close the door. So keep that in mind. You're going to need a truck or something like that to take those tiles home. Those extra large tiles are also extra heavy and really awkward to cut, especially if you're going to use a wet saw like I was. I use some of my scrap wood. I do a lot of woodworking and remodeling projects around here. I use some of my scrap wood to build up extra space for my work area so that it was supporting some of the weight of the tiles and helping me keep everything balanced when I was making straight cuts. I built two supports in this case so that I could have either one on each side or two on one side depending on where the cut was in the tile. Even with that extra help supporting the weight, these cuts were pretty awkward and they were definitely a lot harder than I'm used to when I'm doing my DIY tiling projects. But even though installing this tile is harder than installing smaller tiles that I've used in the past, I do love these tiles and I will install them in our hallway, living room, and office soon too. These extra large tiles have less grout lines, and I think that when you have less grout lines in a floor, it makes the room look bigger. And also that makes your grouting job faster. So I was able to grout this whole room in less than 2 hours, which is fantastic. It did take me a lot longer to install, but the grouting kind of made up for it. That means I used a lot less grout for this project than I normally would use for smaller tiles too. And the larger tiles meant that I was actually making fewer cuts, so going to the garage or outside less often to cut my tiles because the tile covered more floor space than a normal tile. So I do recommend it. These are just a few quick warnings for any of you DIYers out there. Just before you get into it, this is what you need to think about, kind of a thing. But enjoy your new tile. Check out lots of videos to learn about how to properly install these extra large format tiles, how smooth your floor has to be to install them properly, how thick your thin set needs to be, and all of that stuff. And good luck with your project, guys.